Chapter 1 Percy, Heroes of Olympus, Book 2. The Snaker ladies were starting to annoy Percy. They should have died 3 days ago when he dropped a crate of bowling balls on them at the Napa Bargain Mart. They should have died 2 days ago when he ran over them with a police car in Martinez. They definitely should have died this morning when he cut off their heads in Tilden Park. No matter how many times Percy killed them and watched them crumble to powder, they just kept reforming like large evil dust bunnies. He couldn't even seem to outrun them. He reached the top of the hill and caught his breath. How long since he'd last killed them? Maybe 2 hours. They never stay dead for longer than that. The past few days he'd hardly slept. He'd eaten what he could scrounge: vending machine gummy bears, stale bagels, even a Jack in the Crack burrito, which was a new personal low. His clothes were torn and burned and splattered with monster slime. He'd only survived this long because the 2 Snaker ladies, Gorgons they called themselves, couldn't seem to kill him. Their claws didn't cut his skin. Their teeth broke when they tried to bite them. But Percy couldn't keep going much longer. Soon he would collapse from exhaustion, and then as hard as he was to kill, he was pretty sure the Gorgons would find a way. Where to run? He scanned his surroundings. Under different circumstances, he might have enjoyed the view. To his left rolled golden hills inland, dotted with lakes, woods, and a few herds of cows. To his right, the flatlands of Berkeley and Oakland marched west, a vast checkerboard of neighborhoods, with many million people who probably did not want their morning interrupted by 2 monsters and a filthy demigod. Farther west, down by San Francisco Bay, glittered under a silvery haze. Past that, a wall of fog had swallowed most of San Francisco, leaving just the tops of skyscrapers and the towers of the Golden Gate Bridge. A vague sadness weighed on Percy's chest. Something told him he'd been to San Francisco before. The city had some connection to Annabeth, the only person he could remember from his past. His memory of her was frustratingly dim. The wolf had promised he would see her again and regain his memory, if he succeeded in his journey. Should he try to cross the bay? It was tempting. He could feel the power of the ocean just over the horizon. Water always revived him. Salt water was the best. He discovered that 2 days ago when he strangled a sea monster in the Carquinez Strait. If he could reach the bay, he might be able to also make a stand. Maybe he could even drown the Gorgons. But the shore was at least 2 miles away. He'd have to cross an entire city. He hesitated for another reason. The she-wolf Lupa had taught him to sharpen his senses, to trust his instincts that had been guiding him south. His roaming radar was tingling like crazy now. The end of his journey was close, almost right under his feet. But how could that be? There was nothing on the hilltop. The wind changed. Percy caught the sour scent of reptile 100 yards down the slope. Something rustled through the woods, snapping branches, crunching leaves, hissing. Gorgons. For the millionth time, Percy wished their noses weren't so good. They had always said they could smell him because he was a demigod, the half-blood son of some old Roman god. Percy had tried rolling in mud, splashing through creeks, even keeping an air freshener sticks in his pocket so that he had a new car smell. But apparently demigod's stink was hard to mask. He scrambled to the west of the summit. It was too steep to descend. The slope plummeted 80 feet, straight to the roof of an apartment complex built into the hillside. 50 feet below that, a highway emerged from the hill's base and wound its way towards Berkeley. Great, no other way off the hill. He managed to get himself cornered. He stared at the stream of cars flowing west towards San Francisco and thought there must be a tunnel right under his feet. His internal radar went nuts. He was in the right place, just too high up. He had to check out that tunnel. He needed a way down the highway. Fast. He slung off his backpack. He managed to get a lot of supplies at the Napa Bargain Mart, a portable GPS, duct tape, lighter, super glue, water bottle, camping roll, a comfy caterpillar pet, as seen on TV, and a Swiss Army knife. Pretty much every tool a modern demigod could want. But he had nothing that would serve as a parachute or a sled. That left him two options: jump 80 feet to his death or stand and fight. Both options sounded pretty bad. He cursed and pulled his pen from his pocket. The pen didn't look like much, just a regular cheap ball pen. But when Percy uncapped it, it grew into a large bronze sword. The blade balanced perfectly. The leather grip fit his hand like it had been custom designed for him. Etched along the guard was an ancient Greek word Percy somehow understood. Anaklisomus, riptide. He'd woken up with his sword the first night at the Wolf House. 2 months ago? More? He lost track. He'd found himself in the courtyard of a browned-out mansion in the middle of the woods, wearing shorts and orange t-shirt, and a leather necklace with a bunch of strange clay beads. Riptide had been in his hand, but Percy had no idea how he got in there, and only the vaguest idea who he was. He'd been barefoot, freezing and confused, and then the wolves came. Right next to him, a familiar voice jolted him back to the present. "There you are!" Percy stumbled away from the Gorgon, almost falling off the edge of the hill. It was a smiling one, Beano. Okay, her name wasn't really Beano. As near as Percy could figure, he was dyslexic, because words got twisted around when he tried to read. The first time he'd seen the Gorgon posing as a bargain mart greeter with a big green button that read, "Welcome, my name is Stentho," he thought it said Beano. She was still wearing her green bargain mart employee over a flower print dress. That rhymes. If you just looked at her body, you might think she was someone's dumpy old grandmother, until you looked down and realized she had rooster feet. Or you looked up and saw bronze boar tusks sticking out the corners of her mouth. Her eyes glowed red, and her hair was a wreathing nest of bright green snakes. The most horrible thing about her? She was still holding her big silver platter of free samples, crispy cheese, and wiener. Her platter was dented from all the times Percy had killed her, but the little samples stayed perfectly fine. Stentho just kept toting them across California so she could offer Percy a snack before she killed him. Percy did not know why she kept doing that, but if he ever needed a suit of armor, he was going to make it out of crispy cheese and wiener. They were indestructible. "Try one," Stentho offered. Percy fended her off with his sword. "Where's your sister?" "Oh, put the phone away," Stentho chided. "You know by now that even celestial bronze can't kill us for long. Have a cheese and wiener. They're on sale this week, and I'd hate to kill her on an empty stomach." "Stentho!" The second Gorgon appeared on Percy's right so fast he didn't even have time to react. Fortunately, he was too busy glaring at her sister to pay much attention. "I told you to sneak up on him and kill him." Stentho's smile wavered. "But Uriel," she said the name so it rhymed with Muriel. "Can I give him a sample first?" "No, you imbecile!" Uriel turned towards Percy and bared her fangs. Except for her hair, which was a nest of coral snakes instead of green vipers, she looked exactly like her sister. Her bargain mart vest, her flowery dress, even her tusks were decorated with 50% off stickers. Her name badge read, "Hello, my name is Die, Demigod Scum!" "You led us on quite a chase, Percy Jackson," Muriel said, "but now you're trapped, and we'll have a revenge. The cheese and wieners are only €2.99. Stentho added helpfully. "Grocery department, aisle 3. Uriel snarled. "Stentho, the bargain mart was a front. You're going native. You're going native. Now put down that ridiculous trait and help me kill this demigod, or have you forgotten that he was the one who vaporized Medusa?" Percy stepped back. 6 more inches and he'd be tumbling through thin air. "Look, ladies, we've been over this. I don't even remember killing Medusa. I don't remember anything." Can't we just call a truce and talk about your weekly specials? Stento gave her sister a pouty look, which was hard to do with the giant bronze tusk. Can we? No! Uriel's red eyes bored into Percy. I don't care what you remember, son of the sea god. I can smell Medusa's blood on you. It's faint, yes, several years old, but you were the one to last defeat her. She still has not returned from Tartarus. It's your fault. Percy didn't really get that. The whole dying then return from Tartarus concept gave him a headache. Of course, so did the idea that a ballpoint pen could turn into a sword, or that monsters could disguise themselves with something called the mist, or that Percy was the son of a barnacle-encrusted god from 5,000 years ago. But he did believe it. Even though his memory was erased, he was a demigod, the same way he knew his name was Percy Jackson. From his very first conversation with Lupo the Wolf, he'd accepted that this crazy messed up world of gods and monsters was his reality, which pretty much sucked. How would we call it a draw? I can't kill you, you can't kill me. If you're Medusa's sister, like the Medusa who can turn people into stone, shouldn't I be petrified by now? Heroes, Uriel said with a disgust. They always bring that up. Just like our mother. Why can you turn people into stone? Your sister can't turn people into stone. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, boy. That was Medusa's curse alone. She was the most hideous one in the family. She got all the luck. Stento looked hurt. Mother said I was the most hideous. Quiet, Uriel snapped. As for you, Percy Jackson, it's true. It is true that you bear the mark of Achilles. That makes you a little tougher to kill. But don't worry, we'll find a way. The mark of what? Achilles, Stento said cheerfully. Oh, he was gorgeous. Dipped in the river Styx as a child, so he was invulnerable except for a tiny spot on his ankle. That's what happened to you, dear. Someone must have dumped you in the river Styx and made your skin like iron. But not to worry, heroes like you always have a weak spot. We just have to find it, and then we can kill you. Won't that be lovely? Have a cheese and wiener. Percy tried to think. He didn't remember any dip in the Styx. Then again, he didn't remember much of anything. His skin didn't feel like iron, but it would explain how long he'd held out against the Gorgons. Maybe if he just fell down the mountain, would he survive? He did not want to risk it. Not without something to slow the fall, or sled, or... He looked at Stento's large silver platter of free samples. Reconsidering? Stento asked. Very wise, dear. I added some Gorgon blood to these, so your death will be quick and painless. Percy's throat constricted. You added your blood to the cheese and wiener? Just a little, Stento smiled. A tiny nick on my arm, but you're sweet to be concerned. Blood from our right side can cure anything, you know, but blood from our left side is deadly. You dimwit! Uriel screeched. You're not supposed to tell him that. He won't eat the wiener if you told him they're poisoned. Stento looked stunned. He won't? But I said it'd be quick and painless. Never mind. Uriel's fingernails growed into claws. We'll kill him the hard way. Just keep slashing until we find the weak spot. Once we defeat Percy Jackson, we'll be more famous than Medusa. Our patron will reward us greatly. Percy gripped his sword. He'd have to time his move perfectly. A few seconds of confusion. Grab the platter with his left hand. Keep them talking, he thought. Before you slash me to bits, who's this patron you mentioned? Uriel sneered. The goddess Gaia, of course, the one who brought us back from oblivion. You won't live long enough to meet her, but your friends below will soon face her wrath. Even now, her armies are marching south. At the Feast of Fortune, she'll awaken, and the demigods will be cut down like her low prices at Bargain Mart, Stento suggested. Gah! Uriel stormed towards her sister. Percy took the opening. He grabbed Stento's platter, scattering poison cheese and wieners, and slashed Riptide across Uriel's waist, cutting her in half. He raised the platter, and Stento found herself facing her own greasy reflection. Medusa! She screamed. Her sister Uriel had crumbled to dust, but she was all ready to start to reform, like a snowman on melting. "Stento, you fool!" as her half-made face rose from the mound of dust. "That's just your own reflection! Get him!" Percy slammed the metal tray on top of Stento's head, and she passed out cold. He put the platter behind his butt and said a silent prayer to whatever Roman god oversaw stupid sledding tricks, and jumped off the side of the hill.